Okay, so hello everybody who is currently logging in to our final year's webinar for LeadNow. We have Todd here with us today to do this webinar for us. It's just gonna be a bit of a soft start to start with, as we're waiting for people to get logged on, and I think as systems load and that sort of thing. So we will just introduce ourselves to start with. So my name's Chloe. I work at the Careers Centre at the university. I mean, with my role, I look at doing employability activities, helping students to increase their employability skills, both technical skills, transferable skills, and also some of the more soft skills, you might have called them, things like confidence and resilience. So we work to put on a load of activities to help you guys out, and that is why we've invited Todd along today. If at any point through this webinar you have any questions for us or for Todd, you'll be using the chat function and the questions function of this webinar, and we'll be keeping a close eye on it behind the scenes here as Todd's going through. But please do get involved in all these questions. But that's it for me. I will pass over to Todd.
Thanks, Chloe.
Thank you.
Thank you. And hey guys, and welcome to this webinar. Let me first check that you guys can hear me well. So somewhere on your screen, you should find a way to raise the hand icon. So if you find that, can you click it so I can check that you hear me, please? Edna, you're first. Great. How about the rest of you? How many more hands can we get raised in the air? Verity, number 2. Let's get a couple more. Let's see, Lee and Anki. Can you find the symbol where the hand is, just to check that you can hear? Great, Lee, you can hear, brilliant. Let's test one more, Anki. Can you hear me? If you can, just raise your hand.
There might be a different system with Anki there, using a phone call, tramming into a phone call rather than a
I got it.
It might work a little bit differently there, but we'll look into that behind the scenes and try and sort that out.
Okay, so perhaps Anki, you can hear what we're saying, but you haven't got the functionality to do what we're doing. So I'll try and explain what we're doing on the screen. So if you are just listening in, it still makes sense for you. Welcome to this webinar, and well, the title is Stepping Towards Life After Uni, and I think I'm right that all of you might be in your final year. Yeah, let's test this actually. So please find your way to the chat box, and in the chat box, just let me know what year of study you are in and what subject you are studying. Okay, so masters, so that'll be so the master's law one, are you in your final year? Or maybe it's a 1-year conversion. Just confirm that if you would. And how about the rest of you? Still a few more I'd like to hear from. What year of study are you in and what are you studying? Great, sociology final year and a first year, right. Okay, we have the full mix from first year to final and into a master's. So we'll make this.
Sorry, I think Leah's got back to us to say that they are a 1-year master's student, so they're here doing a 1-year course law conversion.
Great. Okay. Right. So thanks for clarifying. So it looks like we are now heading towards exiting university life, and therefore stepping towards life after uni, kind of, well, within the next 12 months or so. So we've got a poll for you now. All of your answers, by the way, when you're putting a chat message response in, they're all confidential, and so is the poll. So they'll soon on your screen will appear a poll, and yeah, the question will be my confidence level that I will enter the graduate job or further study that I most desire is, and just select the one. So there we are. Select the one or more of the select one of the following actually on this one. So what is your confidence level? Okay, so we've got 1, 2, okay, 3. Moving for 5 more seconds. We've probably got 1 more vote needs to come in. It's Antique, or Anki, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm guessing. Okay, I think we've got it all in, Chloe. What's the oh, can we post the results of that one?
Okay, so 50-50, low to high.
Yeah, low and high, with nobody at very low and nobody at very high.
Okay, there's some good in that and some bad in that, I suppose.
Yeah. So how do you see that as good and how do you see that as bad?
I would say that it's good that nobody's feeling very low confidence about it, but it's unfortunate that no one has enough confidence in themselves to feel very highly confident that they're going to get the graduate job or further study that they most desire.
Yeah. And now as I'm reflecting on it, when I'm thinking about the kinds of people that would sign up for this kind of thing, is that if you're very high confidence, you perhaps think you're sorted, and very low might not tune into this. So maybe that's it'll be interesting to track in the future.
Yeah,
so
you're
thank
absolutely
you.
right. I think that's good.
Yeah, good. Thanks, guys. So so none of you are very high in confidence. If we're going to give these scores, let's say you're in the mid-range, somewhere between a 4 and a 7. So your confidence level are somewhere between 4 and 7. Now, if we flick to the next slide, I'd just like to address something here.
Oh, 1 second.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say before asking you to respond to this question is something called the myth of okayness. When we ask people how they are, particularly here in England, you say, hey, how are you? People say, I'm okay. I might say, yeah, fine, or all right. And that's how we perceive other people to be. We can perceive that everybody else is fine, and somehow we think that we are the ones that that I might perceive that I am the one that's not okay. But actually, when you ask the question again, are you really okay? If they trust you enough, then that's when it comes out that they've got a whole list of things that they're not okay about. So I want to bust any myth that everybody else is okay and that perhaps you're not. So it's okay not to be perfectly okay with what's happening after graduation. So now, having said that, when you now pause in your busy life in your final year, and you're stopping to pause and do this webinar, when you stop to think about life after graduation, how do you feel about it? Write your answers in the chat and remember that all of your responses are always anonymous. So Chloe, as you're flicking through the responses, what are you seeing?
There's some interesting responses. There's some quite varied responses actually we're finding on this time. An interesting one was not ready to leave uni. I know I definitely felt like that in my final year of university, just not ready to be outside of that education world and always pursuing further education. We've got somebody saying a lot of opportunities, but I think I'm not well prepared. Really want to utilise this year that I've got. Somebody who's moved here for education and has not got time to work through what happens after graduation yet because of all that comes with living in a new country and settling in and finding your way around. So there's some really varied responses as to what people are feeling after graduation.
Yeah, I'm going to pick up one of the ones there that you seem to resonate with you when you said you weren't ready to leave. So when you had left, when did you suddenly feel ready? If you ever have.
Well, I don't know. I still work within a university, so maybe I never did feel ready.
Yeah, right.
I went to stay. I ended up staying in a fairly similar field, so I left my microbiology undergraduate course and I went and did 4 years as a researcher because that was almost part of it was similar to a postgraduate research course, but not quite the same. And I was staying within a university setting, doing something similar to the course that I'd done. So I eased myself out of it that way, I suppose. I stayed within that HE setting.
Yeah.
So I didn't go for the brave way of stepping out of it. I went for the cheats way and stayed in it.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's brave or cheat. If it's we might take a look at this a little later. But if you know what you like and you're enjoying the education setting and the stimulation it brings, then that might be the right place for you to be. So yeah, no good or bad, just nuances, right? Okay, good. So you're hearing, though, I think, as Chloe's reading through these things, that not everybody else is feeling fine about the future, that other people have concerns about them as well. So if we go to the next slide, none of you would say that you're more than, let's say, 7 out of 10 confident about the future. So most of you are between 4 and 7. So the question is, what is causing your lack of confidence? Even if you say a 7 is still quite good, it's not a 10. So there's some gap between wherever you are and perfect confidence. So now just let your typing fingers type and list everything that comes to mind in the chat box. What is causing your not perfect level of confidence?
Okay, I think people are having a bit of a think about this one. This time it might not be a straightforward answer to really delve into that.
That's fine.
Yeah, so
time is good sometimes, right?
Yeah, I think you need a bit of time to reflect on these sort of questions. So whatever anybody can think of that might cause a lack of confidence. I think I worried when I was at university about a lack of knowledge of not knowledge of what opportunities were there for me, but what it would actually be like when I turned up on the day. We've got somebody who's not sure if they want to do a graduate job or further studying, stay and do a master's. These are all common questions that our final years are facing, and it can almost feel like that final years come around so quickly after another 2 years at university. And there's, if we think about it, academic years at university, you aren't here for very long, you know, it does go quite quickly. And we've got somebody here who doesn't think their preferred job exists in the form that I would like. So whoever has written that one, if you want to follow up a little bit more information about that, it's just you've sparked our interest on that one.
Yeah, I can imagine that could be, and I'd like to I would love to have a job that's mobile, that gives me flexible working, and it's based somewhere. But anyway, it'd be nice, Here we got some more coming in now.
We have so graduate vacancies are going and haven't quite applied yet, so we might have to have a look at why applications haven't gone in yet. Is there a reason why that might be? So we've got here, treating with others, lack useful skills, not got an in-depth understanding in one particular aspect of law, being very normal as others. Some fairly negative comments there, I would say, but
something about not standing out. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go with so it does, interesting. Okay. Let's go to we've got another poll, which I think might help to hone down on some of the common things here and just see what this group are thinking. So could you just pop up the next poll for me, please?
Yeah, of course. 1 second. Okay, so that should launch now.
So there we are. You can now select more than one. So select all that apply for you.
Should be able to. Okay, votes coming in quick, so we'll keep it open just a couple more seconds, I think.
Yeah.
Last few.
There's a few more words to read here, isn't there? So maybe give
There
it another.
is. There is.
Yeah.
Allow. Okay, we've got 100% voted. Thank you, everyone. We'll share the results of that poll now. Wow. Okay. So
what was your wow for?
The two having, I mean, it's thrown because we're choosing multiple options, but I don't acknowledge and appreciate my own strengths. Our students here have fantastic strengths and skills and abilities that they've got from their time at Leeds. So we would always hope that they would be able to acknowledge and appreciate that in themselves, but that's kind of why you're on this webinar today, guys, so hopefully we'll cover that. My CV is not very strong compared to others, so it seems to be a common answer as well.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm wondering about you guys now. So now you've seen the poll results, what reflections have you got based on what you're looking at now? I'm just interested in your thoughts. No real big question, but when you read this, what do you think?
So do any students have any comments as to, is it reassuring maybe that other people have voted similarly to you, or have you found it surprising that where you have voted, other people have or haven't voted? So pop your comments in now, please.
Oh, can people type while the poll is up, by the way?
It's not on your screen. We've changed it back to screen capture, so that might make things a little bit easier if people would want to mention it.
Yeah, so yeah, there's a comment that keeps on coming back around self-efficacy. And this person saying, it's consoling to know I'm not alone. So this person, would you just say something a little more about the word self-efficacy and what it means to you?
So we've got someone who said that they feel their CV is strong, but not sure how to package it well. So that can be a tricky thing to be able to tailor it specifically to what a company is asking for, how to get across all those great skills and experiences you've got over that 2-page CV that can be a very dry document at the end of the day, really.
Okay. Okay, good. We'll wait for something around self-efficacy. So, I remember those polls. It was basically the top two were the two most important ones, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then the third
we can share the answers again so we can all have a look at what those were.
Yeah, so 71, 71, 71, 57, 14, and 14. Okay. So on this webinar, I think what we'll do is we'll cover the top three.
Yep, I think that sounds good to me.
Okay, I'm just thinking which place to start. Oh yeah, let's start with the top one then, shall we?
Yep, absolutely. So should we go back to the presentation view?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
So we've got a really nice definition now of self-efficacy. It is believing in your own abilities. So that top box, if you can go to the next slide, please.
No, 1 second. There we go. Oh.
Yeah. So it's that top one we're talking about. So not acknowledging and appreciating my own strength. So let's try something different rather than chat box. Raise your hand in the window if you believe it is possible for you to change your self-perception on any of these things. So on any of those 5 things, if it is possible to change your perception, raise your hand. If you don't think it's possible, then keep your hands down. We had them all.
We have most hands are up for that one.
Yeah, and I saw one of the other ones go up and come down again, and it's just the one at the top. There we go. Great. So it is possible. So what we need to now do is work out how to change the perception. Because this thing around confidence is not about the outside world doing anything different. It's about how we feel about ourselves. So the goal here is a self-perception change. And when you have self-belief, then you'll stand kind of taller with greater confidence. So let's see what we can shift on a couple of these things for you today. All right. I'm going to introduce a methodology. And the reason why I'm doing this is because we'll use the same methodology 3 times for 3 different questions. And you'll see that there's a nice, easy pattern to it. And you can use the same methodology for any challenge that you might be facing. So if you go on to the next slide, please, Chloe.
Yep. No. There we go.
So this is called the GROW model. Have you come across this before, Chloe, by the way?
I have, yes. It's not something I've filled in myself, but I've come across the model before.
Yeah, so it's one of, if not the most commonly used models in coaching. So it's the GROW model. You work from what's the goal, then how are things now, it's the present reality, then grow a whole list of options, and then help someone to decide, well, what will they do? So this is what we'll do with the first thing here, and with your help, we'll get to a whole range of options, and then you will each have the opportunity to select, well, what will you do about it? So next slide, please, Chloe. And then I think we can stick on this next slide and right through to the end of the webinar, actually.
Okay, yeah, we'll get that up. Sorry, it's been a bit delayed on my side.
All right.
And this slide?
Perfect. So if we first of all look at the goal, right? So the top sentence says, I don't acknowledge and appreciate my strengths. So when you're writing a goal statement here, we just want to write this in the positive. So I'll do this for you. It's quite straightforward. The positive statement would be, of course, I acknowledge and appreciate my own strengths. So that's the goal. The present reality, for those people who said they don't have that, the present reality is that, well, I don't acknowledge them. Or I don't appreciate them, or I don't know what they are, or even if I know what they are, I somehow don't allow myself to believe that they're valuable to other people. So whatever you'd say about yourself in this statement will be your present reality. So we're going to shift to the options. So considering that someone could be like a 0 out of 10, and all of you will be a higher number than that currently. So some people might have a 0 acknowledgement or appreciation of their strengths. So the question for you in the chat box, please, now is this. If someone came to you and said, I have 0 out of 10 on this, what advice could you give them about going to improve their score upwards? So what options would you give those people to help improve on that top line? Chloe, did I make sense then?
A little bit. So if I was going to be finding out from somebody that they were scoring a 0 out of 10, what advice would I give them? What comments would I give to kind of help them in that situation?
Perfect.
For that, I don't acknowledge and appreciate my own skills.
Absolutely. You got it.
That's what I got from it. So I hope everybody else got that as well. So anything that you would say to somebody like that, pop it in the comments box or the chat box, and we'll have a look. I'm sure you all know what you'd like to hear in a situation like that. So anything is welcome.
Yeah. Let's imagine Chloe has a 0 out of 10 and acknowledging and appreciating her strengths. What advice would you give her? What options could she have?
Okay, so I think if I was going to be meeting somebody, so I run the drop-in session at the Careers Centre where students can drop in with any query about careers, be it a CV check, an application, finding resources, anything like that. they can drop in and we can help them with that. I think you have to kind of find out a little bit maybe why it's a 0. What is their experiences that kind of lead to the skills and strengths that they may have. See if I can pull out some strengths. So a lot of the times just asking students to talk me through their work experience or their university experience. While they're talking to me, I can write down skills in front of them about team working and communication and resilience and technical skills and all these different things that I've got just from how they've spoken to me about an experience. But when it comes to writing that in an application, they suddenly feel that those experiences aren't enough. So I think I would go about it that way and try and show people that they are there. They maybe just haven't. We don't talk about skills in a way. I don't. You know what? I like communicating with people face to face. I'd rather have a face to face meeting than a telephone one. But I would never say that means wouldn't call myself a good communicator. But that probably means that is a strength of mine. So I think that's maybe where I would go with things. But we'll have a look at some of the chat as well.
Thank you.
I don't really put it on my CV. Could possibly take the.
We'll come to that CV one on the second question, actually.
Yeah.
My thoughts on this one is getting to university is an accomplishment. And life has not always been straightforward and easy to get there. I don't think any of you would have said that life was a complete breeze from the moment you were born to where you are right now. So you've overcome some difficulties, and along the way you've had to draw on some real strength and resilience to get to where you are now. So to get the grades that you got to go to somewhere quite as great as Leeds, to be studying things that you're studying like law and sociology, all of those take aptitude and skills. So I would be giving the advice of kind of what in the past has been useful to help you to get to where you are now. And create a nice long list from that. So let's move on to the second one, actually, Chloe. My CV is not very strong compared to others. Okay, so we had a nice suggestion from one of the participants talking about what would you say to a second year, or let's say perhaps a first year. So you guys have got more experience now at university. If there was a first year or a second year coming to you and said, look, my CV is not very strong at the moment, what advice would you guys have to that first or second year student? So put your responses to this one into the chat box.
Okay, so we're looking for any sort of advice you might have to first or second year students. It might even be something that you haven't done, but you kind of wish you had done. So with some hindsight of third year, wishing you'd taken on certain opportunities earlier. So we've got one here to say, highlight extracurriculum activities. So university can feel like it needs to be very academic, because obviously that is why you are here. You're here for a course and to get to graduate from university. But there is so much more it offers. Somebody is getting brownie points because they've said to use the Careers Centre. Absolutely, come and use all the opportunities we have. We'll cover at the end some about the ways you can find other opportunities at the Careers Centre, but be using them from first and second year. So we've got here that they would advise that you talk to your professors, and also that third years can be peers and friends to the first and second years, and get to know their professors on a more relaxed basis as well.
Good.
Yeah, we've got advice here to look online to find volunteering opportunities, even daring to go abroad for those. They can really broaden your horizons, give you great experience on your CV, and you just have a great time while you're doing it. So that's really good advice, that one. Thank you.
Yeah. There's some good stuff in here. When I read this line about my CV is not very strong compared to others, my thoughts go in a few different directions. One is the bit about comparing to others. And the majority of people on this call have said that their CV is not strong compared to others, and the vast majority of other people would say the same too. So who are the mythical people we're comparing ourselves to? So again, back to the myth of okayness, it's likely that your CV is not as weak in comparison to others as you might imagine. And then the second thing about making it stronger, one would be about, getting all those opportunities that you just put in the chat box around the volunteering and the extracurricular activities. And the other is really celebrating what you've already done, but are maybe not finding the way to articulate it in a CV kind of way. So the times that you've dealt with conflict in your student accommodation or your student house, those are incidences that can be brought out in your CV. It's not a course you've done, but your handling of conflict in situations is a real employable skill. So you can definitely look deep within your experiences and create a CV that is genuine and real based on your life experiences. Chloe, I'm going to move us on from this one in a moment. Do you want to add anything else to the CV question?
All I would add is from a career centre perspective to say, come and have a chat to us if you are worried about it. 71% of you had mentioned that in at least one of your answers for this poll. The Career Centre are here to help with that every day of the week, Monday to Friday. You can come and find us and we can help, and you'll soon see when you speak to one of us that there is more on your CV that we can articulate and pull out, and you will go away feeling like there is more there than you have. And we can also point you towards those other opportunities. Even though if you are final years, it is not too late to get involved in other CV building opportunities. But yeah, that's my just little sales pitch there. So I'm all done now.
Yeah. No, I advocate that, of course. How long are CV sessions with you?
So at drop-in, you can come for 15 minutes, or you can book to see a careers advisor for 20 minutes, or a careers consultant for half an hour. And those are people specialised in your faculty. So they know a lot about what they're talking about. Yeah,
I think that's probably a quick win for you guys. If that's something you're concerned about, a half hour with a career specialist from your faculty would shift your level of confidence up greatly. So if you've not done that yet, then certainly put that in your diary. I want to come back to at the end this thing around self-efficacy because it's really important. But before we do, let's touch on the third one. So I simply don't know what I want to do. How many of you, raise your hands here if that relates to you? So how many of you don't know what it is you would like to do? The hands are flying up.
I think my hand could go up at this point while I was in third year, and maybe even into my career at some point as well. My hand could be going up on this one.
Yeah, okay. I had an interesting statistic from Bob Gilworth. You might have heard of him, Chloe and Ellen. He's a chairman of the Careers Association. Anyway, he said the number one reason why students don't go to their career service and access the services of the career service at university, the number one reason is because they don't know what it is that they want to do. And so they don't walk through the door because they don't want to be asked, well, what is it you want to do? As the first question, and they've got no answer to it. Now, if somebody came into your career service and said, I don't know what it is that I want to do, what happens next?
We discuss what course they're doing, if there's any parts of that course they want to do, what their strengths are. We also ask them if there's any areas they know they don't want to do, because that is as good as anything to rule some areas out. If they want to stay local, or if they have anywhere in mind they want to live, and all these things help us narrow down where we can look for different resources to help them find what jobs are available for them after university.
And if you're a careers advisor, how common is this question?
It's very common. We get a lot of people coming in with CVs, and we could ask, what is it you're wanting to apply to? And say, I'm not sure yet, I haven't really decided on that, or I'm doing this course, but I don't want to go into the path that this course seems to lead into. But other than that, I don't know where to look because it seems quite channeled. So yeah, we do see it pretty much every day we're doing drop-in. At least one of us will have had that sort of a question.
Yeah, and by the end of uni, but you might not know. So you get this question a lot daily, and so a lot of people have this question, and I guess virtually everybody has this question at some point. You know, when they're starting in the first year, they will arrive at university with this question, and at some point their clarity will come, and at some points it comes when you're about 40 years old. So it takes time to emerge. What's your advice for people who are struggling with this question at the moment?
Our advice is always just research and research and research, really. So we just advise the more you can know, the better place you are to make an informed decision, and you're not going to end up in a career sector or a career path that you maybe don't know much about. And also nowadays, I think the statistic is that graduates will start 5 new careers in their lifetimes, and that can be a whole left field change from where they are to a new career, and that might happen 5 times during a working life, which is going to become the norm and is already moving that way. So whatever it is you go into after university does not mean you are stuck on that path for your whole working life until you retire.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the word careers is off-putting sometimes, because you think of careers being a long-term lifetime thing. Whereas if you just simply take the next, you know, for whatever stage you're at, the most interesting next thing that it looks enjoyable, then that's quite a good, you know, step-by-step wise to end up having a career that when you look back at it, you'd say, I never designed that. You know, no one's actually doing what they designed. It just emerges and happens.
Yeah, I would agree.
Good. So I want to come back kind of full circle, because it's come up a couple of times around this thing about appreciating my own strengths, because I think this is at the root of it. Because all the other stuff I think would fall from this. If people had strong self-belief, the other stuff would kind of get knocked over. So if it's all right with you, Chloe, I'll go back to this for the next kind of 5 or 10 minutes. Is that okay?
That's absolutely fine by me, yeah.
So I haven't got any slides on it. So let me just think about the right question to ask. Okay, here's a question for you. If you can each think of somebody that you admire, so somebody that you know well, so not somebody kind of in the public eye, but you know, a friend or a colleague or a lecturer or a parent or a sibling, so somebody that you admire. And now if I asked you, what is it that is admirable about them? So what is it about them that you admire? Write your answers in the chat box with as many things as you like, whilst you're bringing this person into your mind. So think of a person that you admire and write down what it is that you admire about them.
Okay, thank you people for sending these in. Have a look where these are coming. My chat's not really loading. Okay, here we go. Grandfather's always doing work without feeling tired. Has a great schedule. It's in the 50s. Oh, somebody's mum has retrained later in life and has taken the plunge to retrain, and doing really, really well. That's such a positive story. Somebody with a good time management skills. Someone who's very curious about everything. That's a nice trait to have, and a nice strength to be able to acknowledge into somebody.
Yeah, great. So these things now, you can hear these, and I might be putting words into people's mouths, but the grandfather, he's doing work without feeling tired, so he's got great energy management. It feels like he's bringing energy every day, and probably energizes other people too, and has a great schedule. So a great schedule probably means a good time management. But more than that, it's about prioritization, making quick and rapid decisions, knowing what not to do, knowing how to say no. So all of these things, if you're going to stick to a schedule, are all things that mean you stick to a schedule. So each one of those can be pulled out as different skills that this grandfather has. The mum who retrained, that's, well, brave, it's ambitious, it shows determination. So, you know, these are again traits that underpin the results. Good time management talked about. Being curious, so this idea of constant learning, a growth mindset, seeking education, never complacent. These are all kind of things, again, traits that are really kind of useful. What else do we had? Time management. There we go. Right, so time management. Okay, so Chloe.
Yes.
When you're thinking of a colleague that you admire, you don't have to say who it is. Give me a long list of traits that you admire in them.
It's always nice in a colleague when they are quite a personable individual. So by that I mean somebody who, we all have our own work stresses daily, but someone who still takes the time to factor in meetings and projects that they might be doing with you. That's always a really important one. People who notice the little things as well, so small amounts of praise or asking about how your weekend was, that can make a big difference to somebody's day and how someone affects your working life.
Yeah.
And then somebody who you trust is going to give you is going to help you in your work, and if you are working on something together, you know that anything that they're doing on that project, they're going to have put the same dedication that you are as well. So there's that equality across team players then, no matter what level of position they might be working in.
Great. So loads of things in there. There was trust, the sociability, the noticing the little things. There's some praise, confidence in their work. So perfect. So I will think of somebody now. So she is generous, kind, loving, sensitive to other people's feelings, giving. I said generous. Yeah. I was thinking of my daughter, by the way.
Oh, lovely.
So, you know, when we think of someone we admire, it's sometimes easier to think about their traits. But somebody who may admire you. So now, if you are in somebody else's shoes, and perhaps you've got a younger sibling or a younger cousin, someone that kind of genuinely looks up to you, what is it? Here we go. I was going to say force you. I can't force you to do anything. I'm going to request that you type an answer in the chat box. What might somebody admire in you? Let's get 2 or 3 each. And Chloe, I'm going to ask you yours as well in a moment, but we just have some space while you think about what admirable traits do you have? 2 or 3 each, please.
Okay, so people are coming in with the fact that they are, as somebody else would say, they are good at listening and understanding people, helpful in times of need, generous and humorous, empathetic, kind, funny and loyal, open-minded, listening, all brilliant qualities that you can see why people look up to you for these sort of qualities. Loads listed there.
There is loads listed there. I'm seeing there's also some space for some people who haven't yet listed theirs. So I'm going to push you here. If you've not put yours, we're going to ask Chloe to list hers. But while she's talking, please add yours to the list. We want to get a long list of all the qualities of the people we have on this call. So Chloe, over to you. What's your top 3?
The top 3 of what somebody who looks up to me.
Yeah. What are you? What do people admire in you?
Well, I'm the youngest member of my family, apart from my niece, who is 2.5 years old. And she does get very excited to see me, and I would think she would see me as a loving and caring, funny. I'm normally quite silly around her. Someone who puts her at ease and really shares an interest in what it is that she's doing and focuses my energy to the person in front of me.
Wow.
So that's my example of a 2.5-year-old. But Ellen, who's sat next to me.
This is what a 2.5-year-old might say of you. Would that list be true for your colleagues? Would they say the same thing?
You say that, but Ellen, who is sat next to me, also in the background today, she's written down for me that I am confident, calm, and organised, which is very nice to know.
Very good. Very good. And did you know those 3 things before? Confident, kind, and organised. Would you have said those 3 things before they were mentioned to you?
No, I'd probably never have said calm.
Right.
Because I think you over-stress about your own things internally, don't you? So, and I do try to be organised, but it's you never know how well that pays off.
Yeah. So quite often we can be blind to the strengths that we have, and that's a good example there. You know, sometimes we dismiss, if we're so good at something, we dismiss it as just being normal. You know, of course I can get up on time. It's just what happens, isn't it? A lot of people struggle with that. So certainly go ask some people. We've had another couple come in: personable, determined, ambitious, and driven. So I think pretty much everyone on this call now has listed some traits that, if I was to read these things in the opening couple of sentences of a CV about your personal characteristics, and the things I'm reading now, they feel really genuine rather than something taken off a buzz list of the things you should write at the top of a CV. So if I was to build, I'm just taking the one I'm looking at now, build a few sentences around these things about personable, determined, ambitious, and driven, and wrote a couple of sentences around that, I'd have a real strong CV in front of me, and I'd be really excited to read the rest of it. Same with the others. Let me just pick another one. You know, I've got empathetic, kind, funny, and loyal. You know, that gives me a real sense of this person. So these things I'm reading now look like they're statements of people who both acknowledge and appreciate their strengths. And if they were to write these up in a, I was going to say modest, in a non-boastful way, but yet acknowledging that these are strengths, then that's a really, really strong start for a CV. So there we are. I think that's the first 2 things: acknowledge and appreciate my strengths, and my CV is strong. So, we've done another one. I know, it's the same one. Okay. So last thing for today's webinar, thanks so much for being with us today. Last thing is going back to the GROW model. So we've looked at the goal, and we had a goal. Well, I didn't say the statements with us. Top one is I acknowledge and appreciate my own strengths. I think we've seen some of those today. The second one down, obviously, my CV is strong. You know, we can drop the compared to others bit because that's irrelevant. And the goal on I simply don't know what to do. The goal clearly there is I know what it is I'd like to do next. So those are the goals. Your reality is, you know, today we've talked through lots of options of the things you could do. So my question for you now is looking at the W. What will you do? So perhaps as a result of the last hour, and perhaps it's on your mind anyway. So what is your next step to get greater confidence of your transition from university into life after university? So again, back to the chat box for the last question, which is, what is your next step? What will you do?
Okay, so we've got the majority of an academic year left to go. We are only in early November, there is plenty of time left. So what is it that you're going to do? Visit the Career Centre. Full points to you, my friend. Yes, come along. Check out our website and find all the opportunities and available resources we have on our website, but please do come in and talk to us and book appointments and more workshops and webinars and build your skills that way as well. Someone's going to be more on time and punctual, and I think that might have come from a previous webinar of yours there, Todd.
Great.
Do a bit more research around opportunities and what's available in non-profit organisations. That's a really nice one. So talk to my family and friends and ask them traits they admire about me. It's really hard to think about yourself so confidently and be so open about what are your strengths, but the people around you will be able to reel off lists after lists of what is good and strong about you. So definitely ask the people around you, ask your peers at university, and also ask your family and friends as well. Somebody's going to come in for some CV advice on drop-in. That'd be wonderful. Hopefully I'll see you there. So yeah, people are looking really proactive with what they're going to do next, Todd.
Good result. Thank you. Let's go to the final slide then, and then I'll hand over to you afterwards. So last slide is, well, what support is available for your next steps? I've got a couple more webinars and a few live events up in Leeds this year. Check out the details for those on mycareer.leeds.ac.uk. And then Chloe's already mentioned the careers events. There's one highlighted on the screen here, which is a live assessment centre practice day when the recruitment experts are coming in and they'll give one-to-one feedback to you. So that'll bust the myth around assessment centres. So all the details for that and all the other stuff for careers is on My Career Leeds. And any questions, Chloe is the person to direct them to. That's all for me. Chloe, did you want to come back on and say a few final words?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you very much, Todd, for joining us this evening. I think we've all got something out of that, that setting those goals and using that GROW model, we can achieve those goals and be realistic about them, and just start with making those next steps now, so that over this next academic year, before we get to the end of final year, our students are feeling more prepared and ready to take whatever step it is that they desire. And if that first goal is just to find out what that next step might be, then that is as good as anything else. So thank you once again. We'll hang around for a couple of minutes here if anybody has any more questions that they want to get answered. The video has been recorded, so we'll be sending the recording on to anybody in attendance, so you can listen back and find anything that you maybe missed. We're going to do one last quick poll of you all just to find out what you've thought about this webinar. So that'll be launched in a second, and when that is, and when you fill that in, please feel free to leave the webinar, and we'll speak to you soon. So fill in this now if you don't mind.
Thank you very much, everybody.
The votes are flying in. Yeah, thank you very much for your time, Todd, and we look forward to your series of events coming up over this academic year.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so thank you, everybody. If you need any advice or anything help from me, please get in touch. My email address is on the screen now below. So thank you very much. Bye. Are you last, apart from us? Okay. Sure, she's